Chair entertains a motion. We have a motion by Mr. Alva, second by Mr. Hempel. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the motion is unanimous. Okay, we'll take up item G6. Bob?
Okay. Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to be sure that Lassen Kelly did comment on this. It's a very important issue. I think Tony may have had did comment on it. The RC.
I sent a letter to Jack Bayless, the president of the California Fish and Game Commission, regarding addition of the wolf to the Endangered Species Act, and I've got a copy of that letter.
You got a copy of that?
Yeah.
And then we were asked to do the Fish and Game Commission. I was hoping that what's the name would say that he left?
Don.
We were asked to hear that they write a letter as well, and have us approve it from this board.
And that's
Am I choosing that right?
Yeah, that would be the process.
That would be the process. Yeah, I understand the process. And I did the column that I had in the last time 2 weeks ago. I did send that in as a comment from me, First District Supervisor. That has been said in.
By the way, when I read that, I appreciated in your column. I thought it was really well said.
Well, you got to think in perspective where the average person is not involved in this.
And was it Friday, Richard, that you said that OR 25 is now
located in Modoc County.
It was a new one. OR 25 is now down in California.
Three-year-old male.
There's big sightings in the Westwood area.
Oh.
A little bit, I would say east of Westwood.
Richard, you have
Anyhow, I just wanted to shoot it, just commented on, and that's why I put it on. So I hope that this goes to the Fish and Game Commission, because I think they have, what is it, the 15th of February?
Yeah, that is precisely the intent of the item, is to refer this plan to the Fish and Game Commission for them to comment on it.
Well, they meet next week, and so based on what they're meeting next week, they could have something back to us by our February 9th meeting at the latest, so we could meet that 15th deadline.
Okay, so that'll make a motion to take that action.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Pyle. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Alba. Any further discussion by the board? Any comments from the public? Hearing none, all those in favor then say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion is unanimous. Let's move on to item G12. This is Aaron.
I'm thinking 12 is the wrong number.
The memorandum of the SAPA group. What is it?
I want 15 is the one.
Okay.
So we probably ought to approve 12.
We need to approve 12. We'll entertain a motion on item G12 then.
So moved.
Have a motion by Mr. Hempel. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Alba. Any further discussion or comment by the board? Do you have any comments from the general public? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion is unanimous. Yeah, we'll take a motion to pull it, reverse the previous approval to take off item G15.
That is the additional item.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Alba. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Hempel to reconsider the adoption of the consent calendar to remove item G15 for a separate discussion. Any comment by the board? Further comments by the board? Do we have any comments from the general public? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion is unanimous. We'll take up item G15.
Sorry for the confusion, Murray.
It's the Dozers again. Okay.
Anyway, it's just interesting. I mean, we're getting rid of a lot of this equipment, and I understand that the surplus, and I appreciate the surplus. But the thing I kind of want to point out for everybody, and part of the reason we're having to get rid of this is because it's required to meet the air pollution standards and etc. But we're getting rid of the road grader, the crack sealer machine, a flatbed truck, forklift, 3 dozers, 3 loaders, snowplow truck, a snow blower, and a grid roller. And with those proceeds, it is already here, right, we were hoping to replace all that machinery with the new loader. Anyway, just a comment of observation. I mean, over the past year, we spent a lot of money to have all this stuff here, to have it in our inventory, so that we could do these projects, and just the cost of doing business to meet and to make all this environmental rules and regulations, that this is what it's come down to, is we have to sell all this equipment to buy one piece. It's now gonna have to cover the entire county, you know, and so, just a comment and observation that I wanted to make aware of to the general public. Of what our fee is.
Your equipment's expensive, your equipment's not working.
Well, you're gonna get in trouble if you keep it, so anyway, that's just my comment. So with that, I would move approval of the
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Alba, second by Mr. Pyle. Do we have any further comment or questions by the board? And then, do we have any comments from the general public? Mr. Millard, do you have anything you want to add or say?
No.
Okay. Given that, will all those in favor then say aye?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion is unanimous. Okay. I have to comment, make one observation. 2 of the items are older than I am. And 7 of the pieces actually were purchased during various years that I served on the board. So there's a lot of history going out the door.
There it is. Yeah, we forgot to do that.
Oh, yeah.
We're in trouble.
No, I haven't forgot. I'm glad you reminded me.
I haven't forgotten. I'm glad you reminded me.
Yeah, that was good, Jim.
Well, I haven't forgotten. I would have found it myself when I came to that in my file.
Well, you can use my copy.
Okay, well, we'll deal with that.
It was a poem from Violet that Jim was supposed to read, but she gave me a copy because she thought I was still chairman. But I said,
No, when I went to visit her last night, we talked about it last night, and she was going to be here today, but she had another fall, and I don't think she felt like getting out and visiting. She's doing okay. She just she'll be 82 this coming Saturday, so she's but she made a point of saying to me that she thinks that Bob reads the poems better than anybody else. And she asked me to have Bob read your terrible. No, so would you read Violet's poem at this time? We're going to go back.
Are we within the Brown Act here? Are we okay?
No, we're going back to that board reports, and we're going to take care of Violet before.
Actually, Jim did a way better job than me, but you keep Violet happy. I don't want her mad at me.
Yeah, or me either.
Happy New Year 2016. 2015 has passed us by, and some are glad it's gone. It matters not what we think or do. The days are passing on. We've said goodbye to some we know, a relative or friend, but this will happen rain or shine until our time will end. So take each day in this new year and do the best of all. The public watch and presses wait to see how we will fall.
And I think she's talking about her falling.
Yeah, the public watch and presses wait to see how we will fall. May 2016 bring each the best, and elections on their way. I'm wishing all of you good luck tomorrow as today. Love always, Lassen.
Okay, go ahead. I've got my copies. So give it to me.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Bob, for resurrecting that one to be taken care of.
Well, remind me.
Okay, with that, we'll move on to item H1, which is the committee appointments for 2016. I think this is a list that everyone's familiar with. There's been a few changes that have been made from the past year, and some additions in terms of role. I think all of us have kind of divvied up the different assignments. So my question first to the board, is there any assignment that you would like to vacate? You would have to find someone else, or if there's an assignment you would be interested in to supersede somebody who's already been fulfilling that. And this is the opportunity to make those kind of changes.
I think we should just leave it the same, because we'll have people there, we all have knowledge there, and learn something new.
I got no issue with
And I
it.
really appreciate, Jeff, you stepping up with PSA 2 and getting familiar with that. I was even going to suggest, if you wanted to take the primary representative and I swap with you and be the alternate, but it's up to you, it's your call. You've been going through the meetings.
You get that next year.
Yeah, I'll be the key one next year.
Okay, good. They're going to lead the transition, but I appreciate you being involved in that one. The only other one that I want to just highlight is number 7. The NORTEC Consortium JPA Governing Board, and I've been kind of the representative on that for about the last, I want to say at least 13 years, if not longer. It goes back to close to 2000. And Tom, you've been the alternate, but I don't think you've had a chance to go to any of the
No, I
meetings.
have not.
But one thing that is, the federal laws have changed a lot. The state, the way they react to the federal laws has kind of changed. This used to be a very active group that was a kind of a partnership between the business sector, the educational community, and the labor unions and stuff. And it was, and the Alliance of Workforce Development is the local representative. So this is the funding agency that basically the federal dollars shift down to the state, and then the state parcels out to NORTEC. And it's 11 counties. It's going all the way from Del Norte County down to Nevada County, and basically everything up to Modoc and over to Del Norte. Does not include Humboldt and does not include Colusa and Glenn County. So Tehama County is about as far south on the I-5 corridor. So you kind of draw a line. It's 11 members are on that board, meet jointly with the what used to be the Private Industry Council. They keep renaming it under the new federal authorizations. But what has happened in probably the last 5 years, first of all, it started out being 7 counties, which we were one of the 7, and it was the small rural counties, and then eventually they added the bigger counties, Butte and Shasta, and now Nevada has joined. And it's kind of grown to a point where you might say that that working relationship between, I call it the three-legged stool, would work out what needs to be done. And there was a lot of cooperation where that's pretty much on a county-by-county basis has been dissolved. We're going to be having a presentation here a little later on the agenda at, I think, 10:45 from the Alliance for Workforce Development in terms of what they're doing, and that still remains the same. But what's happened is pretty much at the NORTEC level is that kind of active county participation doesn't exist anymore. They basically now all the seats on that are basically allocated or appointed on a region-wide basis. The 16 of the, well, half of the council has to come from these business representatives, and there were 16 slots available the last couple, 2-3 years, and that's even going under change now. And the governing board, because of that old model, insisted that each of the 11 counties have at least one of those 16. So we do have one slot. We've had a difficult time since Kim Theobald left the board to find a business person who would be willing to engage. But frankly, going down to these meetings, I find myself going down and you get lunch and you get a chance to visit with everybody and stuff like that there. It's pretty much a rubber stamp deal. It's staff driven, which is really driven by, I think, the policies that are dictated out of Sacramento. So I really kind of question our time. I really kind of think as a participant in the JPA, I think it may be time for us to just step back. I'm not saying that we do our own thing and kind of be on our own, which used to be how it was years ago. I think the Alliance for Workforce Development is taking care of business in an exemplary fashion. But in terms of having active participation, trying to find a business person, or even to take our time as a board and go down there and be hands-on, you're not going to make a difference. You're not going to have any impact. And it's basically to go down and be reassured everything's being taken care of. Well, we could do that with a presentation at the podium on an annual basis from Alliance for Workforce Development or even of NORTEC. So one of the things I'm, be more than happy to stay on and work with staff, but I really kind of think we ought to redefine our relationship to North Tech from being basically an active participant and party to one that is inactive, and basically delegate to them to take care of what is required, because the input we would have to offer isn't going to make a difference, because it's already pretty much predetermined by the bureaucracy. And we got an excellent North Tech staff. They're taking care of business. I have no questions about it. It's just that why waste my time to go down there to tell them that they're wonderful, because they are. And so I'll be bringing that back to the board at some point. I've had Mr. Shaw work with me last year to attend one of the meetings, and he's very familiar with what they do in Mendocino County, and they have the different regions that are there, and there are some other alternatives. So that would be the only thing I would say as far as our appointment list that I would like to see maybe in time change. So, but if another board member wants to take it and give it a go and go for it, you have my blessing. But I think you'll find the same results. I really feel bad for Peter Hubner from Sierra County, because he travels all that way and he puts in a lot of energy and really embraces it. But he was pretty discouraged a couple of years ago. And he was the one that got me to start really thinking about what that relationship is. So, okay, well, we have, that's our committee appointments. It's your motion to go ahead and adopt the list as is, okay, with the changes that have been noted by staff.
Mr. Chairman, I just have one suggestion regarding the CSAC Excess Insurance Authority and the Trindle Insurance Fund. I serve as the primary director for both of those agencies. I'd like to continue to do that. Over the last year and a half, Under Sheriff Mandel has served as alternate. I appreciate him doing that. He stepped up to that alternate position when we didn't have much staff in the personnel risk management side of the administrative offices, and I appreciate him doing that. But at this time, with the addition of Mr. Shaw to my staff, I would like to involve him more in the risk management side of things and the financial side of those.
Do you want to substitute him for John?
I would, yes, I would recommend that.
Okay.
That's number 4.
4 and 14.
Okay.
14.
And John Manella, Tony Shaw.
Okay. We'll accept those. Does that concur with the motion and the second? Okay.
Okay. So I got the motion. Who was the second?
Tom. Okay. So you've heard the motion and the second, and any other comment or question from the board? If not, we'll take comments from the public, and I see Mrs. Spencer has her hand up.
Did you need something? Yeah, just one thing is 25, the Treasury Oversight Committee needs to be the new channel.
Yeah, well, whenever there's ones like that, that would... 25. Okay, that will be changed. Mrs. Spencer?
I'm assuming that, because this is a little bit different than the last January's, that this was predetermined, which is okay. The fact that Mr. Chapman has 15 appointments, Mr. Pyle has 12 appointments, and Mr. Alval has 10 appointments, Mr. Hammond has 9, and Mr. Hemphill has 8. Is a little imbalanced. I was hoping that some of these would be turned over to and shared with people that are going to be here after 2016, so they can learn from that. It's a little off balance between you and Mr. Pyle. Second, 23, 24, and 25, or 23 and 24, they have 3 supervisors on each one of those. Normally there's 2 supervisors. Could you explain why there are 3 supervisors on those?
When SB 325 was passed back in 1972, that established the transportation commissions to oversee and administer the Ports and Sales Tax Enforcement Program statewide. It's a state law. They established the commission to be composed of 3 members of the Board of Supervisors and 3 members from the city councils within a county jurisdiction, since we only have 1 city council. So there's 3 city council members and 3 supervisors, and it's one of the few and rare instances where the majority of this board actually is constituting another board, and that's based on state law.
And the flood district's the same way.
The flood districts have all 5 supervisors sitting in that capacity. Those are very rare exempts.
You're incorrect. You're incorrect on that. 36 is a committee that's never been on here before. When did you form that committee? I have last year's list and it's not on there. So when was that formed?
I don't know the answer to that.
That committee has been around since the Indian gaming has been in place. I've served on that committee.
Okay, here's a copy of last January's. It's not on there.
Okay, well, if it's not on there, then that would be an oversight for whatever reason. I cannot address that.
It wasn't on the year before either. So where did it come from all of a sudden? Are you activating an old one, or did you just put one on there at
Well,
some
I tell you
point?
what,
when we told you to
Good job for correcting it, Susan.
in the interest of time, we will have county administration review what the status was, but I know that Supervisor Dolly and I served on it for a number of years while he was here, Mr. Albaugh. We meet once a year with the Indian Casino. There's about $12,000 or $14,000 that's allocated from some state fund that is revenues are generated from all the casinos in the state goes into this fund, and they allocate it based on how many machines every casino has, and that money has to be used for specific targeted projects.
We couldn't find any history on this in previous committee lists, so I would appreciate
So we'll have
information on
we'll
that.
have Mr. Egan investigate and give a report back to the board, so it can be a matter of public record and your questions could be addressed.
Thank you.
Okay. Yes.
So I comment on those. You can't judge workload of these communities, of these committees by how many you're on and how many you're not on. Some of them meet once a year, some meet monthly.
Some meet quarterly and some, it
So
varies.
you can't say he on 12 committees and he on 6, the guy on 12 doing more than 6. The guy on 12 could be all one year meetings, the others could be every month, so you can't.
I think most of the committees are, their assignments are liaison to different agencies. But we have probably, I would say, 5 or 6, 7 joint powers authorities that interact with different agencies, either within the county or with other counties. And I think those are the ones that have probably the bigger workload. And I think it is important that the newer members, because as those of us who will be retired, there needs to be a transition. And that's why most of them have a member and an alternate, so that we do have that. In the case of, like, I use Planning and Service Area 2 area agency, Mr. Hempel, I invited him to get involved last year and this year, and by the time I leave, he'll be well suited to transition to do that. So I think the board is mindful of that consideration.
Thank you.
So do we have any other public comment on the committee appointment list for 2016? Yes, Julie. Could you?
I may be able to respond and answer
Could you come to the
question.
podium, please? Thank you.
If the chairman would like me to, I'd be
Sure.
happy to try to respond to the Indian gaming.
But yes, if you'd like to give further light while we're at it, the question's been raised.
That committee was started prior to me, I think it was 2001. It was a selected committee which included the chairman and Mr. Daly at that time. And it was consistent since I was working with the Indian Gaming Program. The reason we put it on a couple years ago was after Mr. Daly, Supervisor Daly, had gone from the board. So I felt that we needed, as staff was turning over supervisors, we needed to have it as part of that standing list. So that's a better place so that we can make sure that we address it, because that has to be reported before any funding can be allocated. It has to be reported back to the Indian Gaming Commission.
And I think it's important to note there's legislative statutory language that relates to the establishment and existence and functioning of that committee. So it's
Yes.
not something that this board created to do. It was something that this board was requested to send representatives to. It's not just us, it has city and
Yes.
the Indian, the tribal people and other people on it. Law
Yes.
enforcement, I think, is even involved.
As those members change, it has to be reported prior to funding. A signature sheet has to be submitted. So, and I'd be happy to provide any
So
additional
if
information
you
for
could,
you.
if you could provide to Mr. Egan and through Mr. Egan back to the board, we can make it available to the public, maybe even the legislative or statutory requirements for the existence of this committee.
Sure.
And the years that the appointments were paid.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions or comments? If not, then, Madam Clerk, could you poll the vote?
Okay, Supervisor Pyle,
Right.
Supervisor Alba,
Aye.
Supervisor Hemphill,
Aye.
Supervisor Hammond,
Aye.
Supervisor Chapman.
Aye. Thank you, motion is unanimous. With that, we have 10:45. We'll move on to item H2.
We're gonna get battery and clock up there.
And that clock is, that needs to be replaced. That one's working fine.
I can't fit it in.
Mr. Chairman?
Let's take it, Mr., then we'll take a recess. Mr. Egan's report.
I've got one item, as the board is aware, we scheduled next Tuesday, the 19th, I'm sorry. The 19th, we have scheduled and noticed a Modoc Lassen Flood Control District meeting in the afternoon after our regular meeting here. After noticing that, the county administrative officer from Modoc contacted me and indicated that it may be, despite having agreed upon the date, it may be impossible for any of their supervisors to attend their meeting.
And is this the fourth time?
I think this is about the fourth, okay, let's not exaggerate, third time that we've scheduled it. I have not heard confirmation back from him, if that's indeed the case, and I told him, we need at least one MODOC, and we need 6 members, 1 MODOC and 5 Lassen, or 5 MODOC and 1 Lassen to conduct the meeting. And so he was going to attempt to get 1 member to attend, but in the event that he informs me that he's unable to get any since that meeting's noticed, we'll send somebody up there to be there, but I may be telling you during the week that there isn't going to be a quorum, maybe not a reason to travel up there. The second thing that we had planned to do on that day was to have a joint meeting with the MODOC board, our board and their board. It's clear that they're not going to have a quorum for their board, so I think we're not going to notice that meeting. That meeting didn't require the same public hearing notice that the MODOC flood district did, so it has not been noticed yet. We won't notice that meeting. So
Maybe they need to come down here.
we've invited them to come down. We've invited to go there. We've let them pick the date.
Well, I would say at this point in time, until they actually establish a date for us, I've been trying to have a meeting. I think it's obviously dependent upon their schedule, and they operate with their constraints and their needs. So I think we should just leave it to them. So
Right. The critical issue would be the adoption of the budget. That I checked with the county auditor about, because obviously they can't pay bills without a budget. And the auditor indicated there are no pending.
Well, and I would say that if we don't have a budget, we don't have a budget. And then anybody asks, where's the budget, tell them to, as soon as the MODOC representatives are available, we can adopt a budget.
Mr. Chairman, and another thing, Richard, I mean, I don't know the timetable on the groundwater district that this board is responsible to put together, but that was part of the meeting too.
That was to be part of the joint supervisors meeting to discuss that and the.
Thank you, the deadline, we have to meet it there.
We're okay there.
We're okay there.
We dealt with the CAS gym issues in December. You saw the presentation of Mr. Ayers, our contractor. That dealt with that most
We're okay
immediate
on that.
issue. But in terms of SGMA, the Groundwater Management Act, we are proceeding along in a customary,
We're okay.
like way.
Yeah, there are some decisions to be made as far as.
Still good
Yes.
for that.
Yeah. Mr. Hemphill has a question.
I think if we could direct you to get a hold of their staff and just have a meeting in Big Valley for those residents up there, So they know that
Okay.
we're working and they're working to get these deadlines done, so they're not sitting in the dark waiting for the
Sure.
boards of supervisors to get their acts together to do the job.
Well, and there has been a working group, I believe, up there that has met on both sides, and I'd be happy to attend.
But I think just have an information meeting up there, information more than anything.
Okay, and you can maybe forward
Get with Aaron.
forward to your counterpart that Mr. Hempel would like to have that meeting held in the elevator at the court.
So,
Or not alone.
Mr. Chair, if I may?
Yes.
And point of clarification,